And welcome to Techopia Live. It is Monday, August 21st, and yes, we are yet again sitting down with a phenomenal tech entrepreneur talking about a very interesting industry and realm within the tech industry. Here with me, we got Tom Camps, the CEO and founder of ChangeJar. Now, if you have not heard of ChangeJar just yet, I don't know what you're doing with your change, but we're going to try and answer that question for you today. For those of you that's tuning in, if you haven't done so already, make sure that you join us each and every single Monday right here at the Innovation Center at Bayview Yards as we showcase some of the amazing tech that's happening within our city and also taking over on a global perspective. On the other hand, we also want to let you know that we do a Wednesday broadcast as well. That is also just adding to the content and the information within the tech community. We want to make sure that you stay informed of what's happening, so make sure you check this out. Now, let's get back to the man of the moment here. Tom, thank you so much for taking some time for us today. And I'm so excited to talk about you and your company because I have been aware of you guys now for a few months. We've written about you. I've seen you in stores, not you specifically, but the ChangeJar. So let's talk a little bit firstly, for anybody that does not know the company just yet, explain to me firstly what the company does and what does it specialize in within the fintech industry, but also maybe you can share with us how this came to fruition, because that's a really interesting story too.
Thanks, Carlo. So this is my third startup. My previous company was Bold Street Wireless, which you would have used if you ever used Wi-Fi in Starbucks or in the early days, McDonald's or Tim Hortons. That was my company, and we sold it in the summer of 2014. And my plan was to take 6 months off. I have permission from my wife to spend 6 months windsurfing, and I didn't last 30 days. I was driving back from Toronto with my 22-year-old at the time son, Nick, and we stopped for some sandwiches, and he ran into a place and came back out with a handful of sandwiches and a handful of change. And he said, "Dad, I effing hate change." I said, "I do too. Everybody hates change." Just about everybody has like a jar or a drawer or a bowl at home that you've got change in your pocket. You throw the change in there when you get home and you throw it out, and it kind of goes there to die. Wouldn't it be cool if you could pay cash and then put your phone down, beep, and then the change goes onto your phone? Now your change jar is on your phone. So that was the idea we got as we were driving, and we riffed on it all the way home. It's like, boy, that's a really interesting idea. And I couldn't get it out of my head, and there goes 6 months of windsurfing out the window, and I started this new company, ChangeJar. ChangeJar is now a mobile cash payment platform that's optimized for small retail transactions. The idea is that cash is what's used for small transactions. If you're going to buy a $7 sandwich or a $3 coffee, you don't need credit, so pay with cash. But cash has all sorts of positive attributes. It's anonymous. If you pay with cash, I never know you were there. It's fast, it's immediate. When I hand you the money, you've got the money immediately. There's all sorts of good attributes about cash, but cash is a pain in the ass because you got to take it out of the bank, you got to count it. When you go to the store, you count it to pay, and then you get this handful of change back, and you have to put it in your pocket and like that. So the idea is capture all the positive virtues of cash in a digital payment method, but get rid of all the pains in the ass. So by making it digital, you don't have to carry it around anymore. And that's ChangeJar. We've been at it since the fall of 2014, and we've had product in what we call our Petri dish, which is Ottawa Centertown, for just over a year. And it's going really well. And the opportunity is like mind-blowingly huge. Did you know that last year in Canada alone, there were 6.5 billion cash transactions, not dollars, but transactions. And the average transaction size is $17.37. So that's a lot of transactions, that's a lot of money. So frequently people say to me, "Oh, cash is dying, I pay all the time with credit card." And the reality is there's a tremendous number of cash transactions still. And even though credit's growing really fast and debit's growing fast and online payments are growing fast, cash is still really important and is not going away anytime soon.
It's so wonderful to say that you have all the positive attributes of cash without having the cash, which is amazing. So what you explained there makes it pretty clear of kind of how the concept works, but let's kind of step back for a second and just kind of once again put it in perspective. If someone is literally buying a cup of coffee, how would they go through that process in purchasing it with their ChangeJar, so to speak?
So I can give you, I mean, in the building that we're in right now, there's a lunch counter called Lunch, and Lunch does 2,500 or more transactions a month, far more than credit or debit, 500 or 2,500 ChangeJar transactions. So typically what happens, there's software, there's an app on the mobile device, and the merchants have software on their point of sale terminal. So if they're running point of sale software like Square, Touch Bistro, ShopKeep, Shopify POS on a tablet, then they would have our companion app running on the tablet right next to their point of sale software. If the merchant is running some sort of proprietary point of sale system, then we have a software development kit that we can integrate in with their platform. But so there's software for the consumer and software for the merchant. You would walk in up to the coffee shop and say, I'd like a coffee, please. And you would say it's a $3 coffee. I give it 20. So I give them a 20. They type it in to ChangeJar merchant on the tablet that it's a $3 purchase and there's $20 comes in. And then they scan my phone, and we use QR code, which is a technical name for a sort of a square code that can be scanned. And they scan the code right out using the front or back facing camera from the tablet. And then the merchant terminal reaches out to ChangeJar's central ledger in the cloud, and we verify that I have enough money on my phone to do the transaction. It decrements my account and moves the money from my account into the merchant's account, sends a notification back to the merchant terminal that everything's good, and there's a happy face on the merchant terminal, and I get a notification on my mobile that the transaction worked and an updated balance, and I walk away with a coffee and I have money in my ChangeJar. And if I don't, I can also pay, exact same experience, even if I don't put a 20 down, I can pay out of my ChangeJar. So once I have a balance, I've got money in my jar and I can pay. But here's the coolest thing. The coolest thing is that when I download ChangeJar, I never ask you who you are. I never ask you for a bank account. I never ask you for a credit card. Remember when I said that cash is anonymous? Well, because we're cash-based, unlike any other payment app in the world, I don't need to know who you are. I don't need a bank account. I don't need a credit card. What the metaphor for the product is a jar. Think of an empty peanut butter jar, and I just put it on your phone. So now you've got an empty jar on your phone. I still don't know who you are. Then you walk up to Lunch and you put $20 into your ChangeJar. Now you got $20 in that jar. I still don't know who you are. I never need to know who you are. So we're the only mobile payment app where you have privacy as you do your purchases.
That's pretty amazing. Thank you so much for clarifying that, and that's exciting. It's wonderful to know that you have taken that simple step and made it easier. Now, I guess what's interesting about this process is that yes, you have come a long way now. I mean, that's a couple of years you've been like a few years you've been up and running now. But maybe you can explain to us. You've also had the opportunity to go and work with the Accelerator at 500 startups, and it's always nice to hear what that experience was for you as a company, and maybe what have you learned from that experience? Because I mean, here you are on a roll right here at the Innovation Center as well, and once again, your team is growing, and you know it's building up more and more traction. But I'm sure starting there and getting some mentoring has guided you along the way. So maybe you can provide some feedback on that.
Sure, I'd love to. So we hadn't planned on going to an accelerator. We just got caught up in the process. I was introduced to 500 startups by some advisors I have in Toronto. We're also part of Mars in Toronto. And I was introduced to 500 startups in Silicon Valley and Mountain View. And we talked, I think we had 3 conversations, 3 interviews. And they really liked, number one, that the opportunity we're pursuing is huge. well, there's 6.5 billion cash transactions in Canada. There's more than 70 billion cash transactions in the United States, and then like a stunning amount worldwide. So number one, we were going after a huge market. And number two, that this business can't be a lifestyle business. It can't be small and a pleasant little business going along. And there's lots of businesses that are like that can. You know, you start this company up and you make $1 million a year and you go, geez, you know, I'm not breaking a sweat. I'm putting $1 million a year in the bank. Life is good, right? ChangeJar can't work like that. If we're not the next PayPal, if we're not the next Visa, then we kind of failed. So we're going after a huge market and we're all in, going hard. And then the third thing is I'm an experienced founder. I'm not just older, I've actually done this before. And so 500 startups felt that that we were a good bet. Even though we didn't look like a traditional company that was going through their accelerator. So that's number one. We came in, I was older than anybody else in the batch. There were 44 companies in the batch. Half of them were from outside the US, which is really cool. I met some spectacularly interesting people. And week two, they call it Marketing Hell Week. And they say you got to bring your co-founders down, you got to have a team down. So my co-founder, Neil Stansby, and my marketing person at the time, Andrea Diaz, came to the Valley, and we were in Mountain View, which is sort of towards San Jose rather than San Francisco, but it's right in the Valley. And every day we'd have multiple sessions from multiple speakers talking about branding, lead development, sales, digital marketing, all of this. And we would go that day and we'd go and apply it to our business. So it was an unbelievably intense week where we learned the way that, frankly, Valley companies think about growing their business and the discipline of business development. And honestly, it's different. It's different than it is in Ottawa. It's different than it is in Canada. And it's probably different than it is in most places in the United States. It's so intense. It really is. It's great that you had a good day yesterday, but what are you doing today, right? And I've been around the game a long time, and if you have a good lead, I got a good phone call. Carlo, I talked to this guy from General Motors, and you go, and as a sales guy, we all high five each other. That's fantastic, Tom. But in the 500 Accelerator, they go, that's nice. Is he the decision maker? And how are you going to get to the decision maker? And how are you going to get this to a decision in time for demo day? How are you going to convert this into business? It's like, can I have a hug? No, we don't have time for hugs. Let's get down to business, right? And it's not that it's nasty. It's just, it's intense. And in the Valley, you pick a business. I don't care. You pick any business, even ChangeJar business. There's 10, 15 other companies that are swirling around in the same space. And if you think, oh, I can do this 9 to 5, I'm going to take it easy. I want to have work-life balance. Well, you do that, but I'm pretty much writing you off because in the Valley, they're grinding it that hard. They're hitting it that hard. They're working best practices. And what's really cool is that even though it's intense, they really help each other down there. There's a culture of support. And so I was learning about the culture of running a Silicon Valley startup that I've tried to bring home. I've learned best practices in digital marketing that I've brought home. And it's changed the nature of the people we hire because now we're demanding more of them because of our expectation. And it's just a sense of, are you in the game? If you're in the game, then it's go time. So go do it, right? Stop talking about it.
I love it. And that's so fascinating because once again, it's more about, it's based on results. It's based on what can you really make happen. Because I'm sure when you went over there and so many times within the startup realm, and it's wonderful that you've been through all of this. You've started up a company, you're in this. This is not your first rodeo, so to speak. So the great thing for you is that you know what is expected, you know what needs to get done, and now when you're in this realm now where you got some of that insight, now it's just made it more official. It's got yourself really on track, and I see you guys are making headway because I think that's the mindset that you really need to have to make that difference. And now maybe you can speak to this a little bit, and I know we can talk about this all day long because it's such a fascinating concept. How do you see just our personal wallets that we have now with us? It is filled with everything from credit cards to debit cards to our cash. How do you see that evolving? I mean, even in what you've been exposed to up to this point in the conversations you had, how do you see that look over the next 5, 10 years?
Well, so everybody's wallet does have multiple things in it. You probably have a couple of credit cards, a debit card, you've got cash, you'll have other kinds of ID and things like that. And so there are companies who are trying to solve the problem of carrying all of these cards around, and there's payment apps that are trying to solve these problems. And they're all based, almost all of them are based on credit card. Okay? So we're not trying to change that. Apple Pay, put your credit cards on your phone. Android Pay, put your credit cards on your phone. That's the model. What they've got right is that everything's mobile these days. What they've got wrong is that just putting a credit card on your phone is not easier than having a credit card in your wallet. You pull your credit card out, you tap it, you pay, you know it's going to work, and you walk away. With Apple Pay, Android Pay, it's not yet as easy as tapping a credit card. It's not as fast, and really they haven't added a lot of value. One of the rules of the Valley is if you're not making something 10 times better, why are you bothering doing it? Because you're not going to get people to change behavior for it's a little bit better, right? And really putting your credit card on your phone doesn't necessarily make it certainly doesn't make it 10 times better than just tapping your credit card, right? So I believe in mobile. Everything's going mobile. It's just the thing I carry around all the time. I think that the mobile wallets conceptually are where we're going to go, but somebody's going to have to figure out what the right reason is. Now, from our perspective, as mobile wallets emerge, I just want to be the cash in the mobile wallet. I don't have to own the mobile wallet. And from our perspective, we are making it 10 times better. It is far more convenient not having to carry cash around, being able to pay off your phone, seeing the balance that you're carrying around all the time. Being able to see the transaction log, know how you got to where you are. That's really valuable. That never existed before. And we've got. Do you guys like having kind of announcement-y things happening on this show? So we have. We have a very strong relationship with Interac. And we happen because Interac is in the cash business, but they like doing transactions into your bank account or out of your bank account. So if you want to pay out of your bank account, that's what Interac does. They make that secure and safe, and you have the confidence that's going to work. Well, we work with the cash, so once the money comes out of your bank account, then it's on your phone in ChangeJar. So we're really adjacent to them. So we have a whole bunch of initiatives coming down the pipe that very soon, you're going to be able to push a button and load your ChangeJar out of your bank account, and boom, you've just topped your balance up, and you can keep going and paying. Everybody's happy. It's an Interac transaction. Instead of going to an ATM, the money came out through the app. So I see that kind of behavior. I see the Interac experience that you've had up to now from a debit card is going to come from mobile, and it's going to be built into your ChangeJar app. So the mobile wallets are very interesting, but where this gets even more interesting is on the merchant side, because the merchants a lot of merchants accept credit card kind of because they have to. Some people come in and they say, well, I don't have cash, I'm going to pay with my with my credit card. And we're trying to make it so you have another alternative. And by the way, and I haven't mentioned this, from a merchant perspective, because we're cash-based, there are no transaction fees. We are the only mobile payment app that works in retail for which there are no transaction fees. So when you're a merchant, here's an audience that's carrying around cash in their phone. They want to be able to pay in your location. That's a really big deal. And so, we think that this is not only very interesting for consumers, but it's really interesting for the merchants. And we're staffing up like crazy. We're looking for, relatively new grads, business grads who want to join ChangeJar and help grow the business in retail, because this is it is a unique value prop for the merchants, and we want to make this grow fast.
That's so many great positive attributes to, once again, the platform. And I think what's wonderful about it, and just having the ability to use that cash. I mean, I'm just thinking now, I'm a father of 2 young kids, and I'm thinking, yes, they save up that piggy bank of theirs full of change, but it'd be wonderful as they grow up and they get into their teens and they all want their cell phones and mobile phones where you can say, hey, listen, here's something that you've earned, go take that, use that, and make them financially responsible as well. So I really love that aspect, and it's wonderful that there's so much growth that's taking place. And if you don't know what's going on, you've missed some of the conversation. I'm here with Tom Camps, CEO and founder of ChangeJar, a phenomenal company that's really changing, just the fintech industry as well. So thank you so much for sharing some of this insight. For those of you that missed a little bit of this, make sure you go and check out here on techopia.ca to find a little bit more about this. Also stay tuned. We have another broadcast taking place on Wednesday with more exciting tech information coming your way. But go check out ChangeJar as well. There's opportunities that's happening not just from a merchant perspective and a customer perspective, but also from an HR and occupation perspective, an employment perspective. You can come and join this dynamic team, and before long we'll have the next Interact right here in Ottawa, which is wonderful. Thank you so much, Tom.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for joining us. Have a fantastic day. Bye for now.